The first half of the quarterfinals of ESL Pro League Season 20 are upon us. Today we watched MiBR take on M80 in an underdog v underdog battle, and then we rounded it off with Eternal Fire taking on the Cologne Victors, current #1 team in the world, Vitality. Could M80 take down the upstart Brazilians led by Insani and Safe and continue their undefeated run? And on the other side, could Eternal Fire do enough damage to Apex and his boys to bring them down a peg and stop their run short? I don't know, but I would assume at some point throughout the duration of this video we'll figure out the answer to those questions. So before we get started, my name is LionHeartZ, welcome back to the channel. You are in the best spot for your same day recaps of the biggest tournaments in Counter-Strike. So if you like the content, show me by hitting the like button, leaving a comment down below, and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. It helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm, so thank you for doing it. Without any further ado, let's get into our first match of the day. So when talking about this MiBR M80 matchup, I think is really interesting because these teams are incredibly similar, both in terms of firepower and how they played throughout this event. They're both headed by very young stars making their names in their respective scenes. So this series really had the potential for a lot of fireworks, with Lake and Slacks going blow for blow with Insani and Safe, but at the end of the day, unfortunately M80 just regressed. They were not the same team that we saw in the group stage. MiBR took this series pretty cleanly in 2-0 fashion, and frankly, even though the scoreline on Anubis is 13-10, it didn't feel like M80 were just a few rounds away from turning it into a win of their own. And the first thing we have to point out on both sides, one, Lake did not have a great series, which sucks because he was playing so well earlier, and on the other side, Safe was incredible. MiBR often becomes a discussion about Insani solely because he really is looking like one of Brazil's next budding superstars, but Safe here was incredible with the op in his hands. He dropped 30 on Anubis, had 43 for the series. And with how he's been playing recently, I really think Safe needs to be in the discussion as one of Brazil's best oppers. He's starting to look better and better, more comfortable against tier 1 opponents, and if him and Insani continue to develop and MiBR actually gets Lukowski like the trade rumors seem to suggest, this team is only going to get more deadly. And getting into this first map Anubis a little bit closer, I think you're going to see that once again, despite what the scoreline states, I feel like MiBR were in control of this game the entire time. They started off their CT side defense by winning the first 5 of 6 rounds, and they did so quite soundly. It felt like M80 really struggled out the gate to find any kind of momentum. Lake was struggling, they were kind of anemic on taking space, and they allowed MiBR to win 3 post-plant situations, which is not good when you consider just how T-sided Anubis is. But they got things under control, and they went on a 5-round streak of their own to equalize the half at 6-6, only conceding the final round of the half to MiBR. Unfortunately, from here, I think is when MiBR shifts into a different gear and proceeds to run them out of the server for the rest of the game, because after they take that last round of the half, they win the first 6 rounds on their T side to get to match point. So even though M80 did really well to try and push us to an overtime, they won a bunch of clutch post plants, it just doesn't matter because at the end of the day, yeah, it's a 10-13 scoreline, but you conceded match points so early on that you had to play perfect for the rest of the game just to get to overtime. And with Lake underperforming his usual level, that's just too tall of an order in this case, which is why MiBR go up 1-0. And when we move on to Ancient, I think it's just pretty clear for this series that M80, despite playing so well early on, were just outgunned by MiBR. And you can point exactly to when MiBR kicked the door closed on M80's hopes here, and it was during the second half. M80 take a very clutch pistol round, and then on the second round anti-eco denial, M80 get run over on the A side by MiBR fielding 3 Tech 9s and 2 Galils, Safe leading the way with one of those to get the first pick on Wreck, and at that point M80 are under-equipped to retake the bomb site, leading them to get hunted down individually until the round is over. This put them far too behind economically and allowed MiBR to run up a 5-round streak that once again put them on series point 6-12, just like on Anubis, and this time MiBR did not even allow M80 to have a ghost of a shot at closing that deficit, winning it within the next 3 rounds. An overall dominant performance from MiBR on the day to secure their semifinal appearance. For M80, I think this was still a good showing for them at the tournament. I think Lake really shows his potential as one of the best up-and-comers out of NA, and now the great question is, will they bounce back in their next opportunity at a tier 1 event? Okay, so real talk, just between me and you, I recorded the first half of this video while the Vitality Eternal Fire series was still going on, like in the middle of Nuke, and yeah, Now I'm coming back after recording all of the demo footage to talk about the game, and you know, this one's gonna be tough because I feel like I cannot do a good enough service to how good of a game that was. Outside of Nuke being a shutout that we will really just kind of speed through, Anubis and Inferno were two of the most entertaining maps all year long and easily the best maps at this tournament. Eternal Fire played fantastic, and Vitality matched them blow for blow, and both teams pushed themselves to the very edge of their limits and sanity, and somehow, at the other side of it, Eternal Fire has snapped Vitality's 2-month-long undefeated streak and made the semifinals, sending the French home early to the shock of literally everyone. So hopefully it goes without saying, before we even get into any of the particulars, go watch this series. I will literally not be able to cover all of the interesting stuff that happened wherein. I am just here to give you guys a snapshot of what happened, which means that I am faced with an entirely too tall task. So bear with me, we're going to be jumping around a lot. Okay, so let's talk about Anubis first things first, because obviously it was the first map played. And listen, I think Vitality were in control of this game, and for the series, I think most people would agree that Vitality played better overall Counter-Strike. It just came down to those last couple of key rounds on both here and Inferno, where Eternal Fire pulled magic out of nowhere that made the difference in who won and who didn't win this series. Other than that, pretty much everything that you could hope for Eternal Fire happened. Both Zontares and WASNT were electric throughout this series. They both end with over 70 kills each, and on Anubis, WASNT top fragged with 27. He looked otherworldly throughout this entire series. He went blow for blow with zywoo with the AWP, and this is what we always wanted out of this team, man. When WASNT first popped up on the scene all those years ago and showed this potential of his crazy aggressive style, we knew what he could be. He was a top 5 opper in the world, and then he got inconsistent. He started to drop off. He struggled to find his form in CS2. All the while, Zontares continued to excel as a top 10 player in the world. This is why Eternal Fire really weren't good at the beginning of this year. But right now, WASNT is playing out of his mind. This is arguably the best series of his career, and for sure the best series he's played all year, and Eternal Fire needed every single drop of it. And then, like I said, Vitality were very much in control of this game for the majority of it, but towards the end, we got some straight Eternal Fire magic. Like here on round 21, where EF are trying with everything in their power to prevent Vitality from getting to a match point. They're broke, they're down to pistols and armor, they managed to keep a rifle on Zontares, and somehow they managed to carve a hole through mid. They trade for the A-side control. Zontares and WASNT taking 3 picks, 2 for Zontares, 1 for WASNT on a miracle headshot with the pistol, and then it comes down to a 3v2 post plant where Apex and Spinks are going to work their way through heaven. Apex is going to get 2 excellent picks on Zontares and Calyx, leaving Volcada with the AWP with 1 shot in it in a 1v2 with the bomb ticking down, and somehow he hits the first shot with the AWP, manages to pull out the Tech-9 for the clutch 1-tap with the pistol to keep their hopes alive and keep the score close 11-10. And even then, Vitality strike back and take the very next round to put us into match point, and once again, Eternal Fire are broke, so now it's 12-10. They're on the eco once again. So they bet it all on a B rush, and somehow they break into the site and force Vitality quickly to have to back off and try and save. And not only do they win the round, get all the guns back, they manage to hunt down the 2 saving Vitality players, taking a crucial AWP and rifle off the board. So now we go into the final round of regulation, and Vitality is broke, which basically guarantees Eternal Fire's ability to force overtime. And down the stretch in overtime, they just played better than Vitality, which allowed them in the end to close out the first map 16-14. And at this point, I'm rubbing my hands. Things are getting spicy. Vitality are on the back foot for the first time in what feels like ages. And then we pull up to Nuke, and Vitality quickly kick Eternal Fire in the teeth 13-5. I have nothing further to add on Nuke. It really wasn't interesting to watch. Vitality simply dominated, especially in the second half, where their CT side was so suffocating that Eternal Fire couldn't win a single round. Which is fine, because apparently both teams were saving all of their energy for whatever the hell would happen on Inferno. Man, I'm literally like mentally exhausted from how many like theatrics went on throughout the course of this Inferno game. And listen, I've talked about it before. This version of Inferno sucks. It's not the Inferno that I love. It is not the version that will live on as the greatest competitive map in esports history. It is nothing like what it used to be, yet somehow there is something about Inferno as a concept within Counter-Strike that will inevitably produce some of the most exciting games you will ever watch. Triple overtime down the stretch to decide who lives and who goes home. zywoo with 37 kills and a 1.4 rating, Xantares with 41 kills and a 1.64 rating, Woxic and Wicadia right behind him with 36 and 30 respectively, Mezzy and Spinks with 30 bombs of their own. We got everything. Harrowing clutches, 1v5s, 2v5s being spoiled by the bomb timer running down, insane flicks from both sides. And it's just, I don't know what to say to you guys, because breaking down the specifics, I feel like I will ultimately do a disservice to it, because there's something about the moment. The casters were on the edge of their seats. I was on the edge of their seats. Both of these teams were screeching at each other after every win. At the end of this game, Major dropped to his knees, praying to every god he could think of for this victory. I have never seen emotional exhaustion after a game of Counter-Strike like this, and I've seen all of the CSGO majors. Just unreal stuff. Both teams were just, they would pull out miracle plays out of nowhere, like zywoo hitting the 1v4 ace clutch on the T side down the stretch, and you'd think that would just break the backs of Eternal Fire, but somehow they persevere and fire right back. On the CT side, time and time again, Xantares would take banana control, just hit huge sprays through smokes, through walls, and nade damage would take Apex or someone else out of the round immediately, and somehow Vitality would just try and power through straight into B anyway. In the second and third overtimes especially, Woxic was a black hole, an abyss on the A site, someone you could not peek into. He was so fast, so efficient, he barely missed any off shots, and he locked down that site so hard with Wicadia right behind him, Calyx playing off him as well, allowing Major and Xantares to flex around their B control effortlessly. Just go watch this game, man. Like, you don't have to watch the whole series. Go watch this map. It was that good. And I've talked a whole lot of stuff about what happened, and not even to mention that insane play where Wicadia got behind Vitality on the B site, crawling through the church, let Apex walk behind him. He's flanking around into confidence that he's gonna get the insane backstab, but somehow, like with the force at his side, Mezzy just calls out 3 times, hey, check behind you CT, check behind you CT, check behind you CT, and then Wicadia gets spun on. They had no tell he was there. It was just a caution, just hey, just keep it on your back. They might have gone by, and they were right. Yeah, man, I could spend a lot more time talking about this game. I know I could. But I'm not gonna yap on too much longer. Go watch it. Please go watch it. Please, please, please. Drop a like on the video first, please. Do that before, follow me on Twitch, sub to the channel, all that good stuff. But go watch the game. And somehow we have to get up tomorrow and watch 2 probably even better quarterfinals matchups. G2 taking on Liquid and Spirit taking on Na'Vi. So tomorrow is going to be even busier than it was today. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully you guys are as well. This is your #1 spot for the same day recaps of the biggest tournaments in Counter-Strike. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. These videos are powered by advanced.gg. If you click the link in the description down below and you browse any of their excellent products and decide to make a purchase, you can use my code LionHeartZ at checkout for 10% off, and it lets them know I sent you their way. Thank you to advanced.gg. Shout out to my channel members, Justin, Jesse, Furley, Bubblesj, Dr. Cocktor, and Milan Berta. If you want to become a channel member, you can check the link in the description down below. For $5 a month, you can support me directly in what we do here. Lastly, check me out on twitch.tv/LionHeartZ2. I'll be live tonight playing Counter-Strike, talking about the insanity of today's events, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.